Before we deconstruct the brutal multi-million-dollar architectural shift currently tearing through the global technology and labor markets, I have exactly 3 critical questions for you to answer in the comments below. Number 1. Are you still defining your professional value by the manual syntax you type, completely blind to the fact that tech behemoths are spending hundreds and millions of dollars to replace your keystrokes with autonomous tokens? Number 2, do you understand the cold mathematical reality of a corporation freezing engineering hires for 15,000 roles while simultaneously launching a massive recruitment drive for 2,000 biological salespersons? Number 3, if your company routes all complex software development through an automated Slack channel tomorrow, are you positioned as a sovereign architect governing the system, or the redundant executor being bypassed? Let me know your answer. I am Dr. HR. I approach the global labor and capital market not with emotional comforting advice, but as a cold structural algorithmic system. I hold a PhD in Human Resources, a master's from prestigious Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TISS in Mumbai, and a bachelor's in Computer Engineering. Operating on the ground here in Dubai since 2010, consulting for Tier 1 corporate entities, sovereign wealth funds, and apex tech founders across the Middle East and India, I monitor exactly how global talent is sourced, valued, and ultimately deleted by automation. The software industry, as we know for last 30 years, was mathematically eradicated this week. Salesforce CEO Marc Benioff just stepped onto the All-In podcast and delivered a lethal structural blow to the traditional labor market. He confirmed that the Salesforce is projected to spend staggering $300 million on Anthropic AI tokens in 2026. This massive capital expenditure is dedicated almost entirely to one specific function: coding. This is not a future projection. The token economy has officially replaced the payroll economy. If you work in a human resources, technology, or corporate strategy, you must immediately understand the terrifying physics of this announcement. We are tearing down the illusion of traditional software development, exposing the brutal HR math behind the agent force deployment, and giving you the exact architectural blueprint to transition your career from a biological syntax writer to a sovereign AI orchestrator. Stop memorizing code. Start commanding the algorithm. Grab a notebook. It is time to audit your obsolescence. Phase 1. The token budget versus the payroll budget. We must first diagnose the exact macroeconomic pivot that Benioff had just formalized for the entire global tech sector. Historically, when a tech conglomerate wanted to increase its software output, the Chief Human Resource Officer and the CFO initiated a massive hiring sprint. They allocated $300 million to recruit, onboard, and retain new senior engineers across Silicon Valley, Bangalore, and the UAE. They absorbed immense biological friction: sick days, burnout, management hierarchies, stock options, and retention bonuses. Salesforce has completely bypassed the biological supply chain. They are taking that $300 million and handling it directly to Anthropic. In the artificial intelligence industry, tokens are the fundamental units of text that a model processes. Anthropic bills enterprise customer based on the raw volume of token consumed. Salesforce is buying $300 million worth of raw, unfatigued, instantaneous cognitive labor. Benioff was ruthlessly direct about his conviction. These coding agents are awesome. I'm going to probably use $300 million of Anthropic tokens this year at Salesforce. Everything going to be cheaper to make. Let us run the structural HR math. Salesforce currently employs approximately 15,000 engineers. In January 2025, they instituted a total hiring freeze for software engineering. Why? Because by mid-2025, Benioff confirmed that AI was already handling between 30% and 50% of the company's overall workload. The human is no longer the creator. The human is the validator. If a corporation can increase its absolute output by 50% without hiring a single new biological engineer, the concept of scaling a company through human headcount is dead. The capital that used to flow into the employee's salary is now flooding directly into server compute and LLM infrastructure. Phase 2. the eradication of the code monkey. Benioff explicitly stated that Salesforce 15,000 engineers are not being eliminated. This provides a false sense of security to the amateur operator. What are those 15,000 engineers actually doing? They are working alongside tools including Anthropic's Claude, OpenAI Codex, and Cursor. They are supervising AI-generated coding workflows rather than writing every single line of syntax themselves. The HR matrix has covalently inverted. You are no longer paid for your ability to type Python, React, or Apex. You are paid exclusively for your architectural judgment. The moment an engineer insists on manually typing code that an autonomous AI agent can generate in 400 milliseconds, that engineer transforms from an asset into a massive operational liability. Benioff described the shift as unlike anything in his career. I can do things that I could not do before. I can go faster than ever before. I can implement my software and sell it at the same time. The velocity is a weapon. If you're an engineer who views coding as an artisanal craft, you will be crushed by the operator who views coding as an automated assembly line. The market does not care how beautifully you format your syntax. It cares how fast you can deploy a secure, revenue-generating application. The code monkey, the junior or the mid-level developer whose only job was to translate a senior architect vision into a syntax, has been replaced by a $300 million API key. Phase 3, the intermediate routing layer, cost optimization. As an executive of a tech professional, you must understand how these massive corporations are managing the extreme cost of this intelligence. It is not a blind, limitless deployment. It is highly structured, algorithmic supply chain. Spending $300 million on frontier models is expensive. Benioff highlighted a critical cost management strategy. Not every token should go on a frontier model. He called for an intermediary layer that routes simpler tasks to cheaper models and reserve Claude specifically for harder reasoning work. Translate this into human resources logic. This is the exact same architecture HR uses for the biological talent management. You do not pay a senior vice president $500,000 a year to format a basic Excel spreadsheet. You delegate that entry-level analyst. In the 2026 digital infrastructure companies are building cognitive routers. When a coding problem is initiated within a Salesforce, the router evaluates the complexity. If it's a standard boilerplate code, it routes it to a cheap open source model costing fractions of a cent. If it requires complex architectural synthesis, security validations, or deep logical deduction, it routes it to a premium frontier model. If you are a human operator, you must ask yourself a terrifying question. Am I performing a task that can be routed to a cheap model? If your daily corporate output consists of tasks that lacks structural complexity, the corporate routers will eventually bypass you entirely. You must aggressively position yourself in the high reasoning tier. You must solve the unstructured, chaotic, highly political problem that intermediary digital layer cannot process. Phase 4, the Slack integration, the democratization of syntax. We must analyze the hidden strategic weapon in Benioff announcement. Salesforce owns Slack, the workforce platform they acquired in 2021. Benioff stated, "We are even working on technology inside Slack to make it easier for everybody to code." You're going to see some cool stuff with Slack and code. I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but there is no question that we are in a new moment in coding. This is a democratization of the syntax. For 50 years, software engineering was a heavily guarded, walled garden. If you wanted to build a program, you had to learn the obscure, unforgiving language of the machine. The engineers held absolute power because they controlled the translation layer between the human intent and the computer execution. Integrating coding agent directly into Slack destroys the wall. Slack is a conversational interface. It is where the marketing director, the HR vice president, and the sales manager communicate using natural, messy human language. By embedding coding agent into this exact interface, Salesforce is allowing non-technical biological operators to generate operational software simply by talking. If the VP of Human Resource needs a custom application to track global attrition metrics against new UAE corporate tax code, they no longer need to submit an IT ticket and wait 6 months for a development sprint. They simply open a Slack channel, tag the Anthropic-powered agent, describe the parameter in plain English, and the agent write test, and deploy the application instantly. The barrier to entry for software creation has dropped to zero. What does this mean for a traditional engineer? Your value is no longer in writing the script. Your value is in maintaining the security architecture and the ethical compliance of thousands of micro applications that the non-technical staff are spontaneously generating inside their chat window. You must transition from a builder to an algorithmic governance architect. Phase 5, the support massacre and the sales rep paradox. The automation protocol does not stop at the engineering tier. We must look at the carnage occurring in the low-friction sectors of the enterprise and the profound paradox of where the human hiring is actually accelerating. Last year, Benioff announced that AI agent has enabled Salesforce to violently reduce its global support workforce by 9,000 to 5,000 employees. If you're an outsourced BPO operator in India or the Philippines, or an HR director managing massive service centers, this telemetry is apocalyptic. 4,000 biological jobs were permanently vaporized and replaced by Agent Force, Salesforce's dedicated AI agent product line. Did this amputation of the workforce hurt the company's revenue? It triggered a massive financial explosion. Agent Force has reached $800 million in annual recurring revenue, the ARR, growing at 169% year over year with 29,000 deals closed. This proves a brutal law of the 2026 economy. Headcount reduction does not equal revenue reduction when the replacement is autonomous. But here is an ultimate paradox and the roadmap for your career survival. While firing 4,000 support staff and freezing engineering hires, Salesforce confirmed plans to hire between 1,000 and 2,000 salespeople to help customers adopt its AI product. If AI is writing the code, building the product, and handling the customer support, why does the corporation need human to sell it? Because trust is un-automatable. Salesforce can build the most advanced, mathematically perfect AI agent on the planet. But when they want to sell a $50 million enterprise contract to a sovereign wealth fund in Dubai or a logistics conglomerate in Mumbai, and AI cannot close the deal. The chief information officer of the target company is terrified. They are terrified of the data lakes, hallucination liability, and integration of a volatile intelligence into their legacy system. They will not sign a $50 million contract with a chatbot. They require a biological human to look them in the eye. They require a human to sit in the boardroom, absorb their anxiety, navigate their corporate egos, and provide a biological guarantee that the deployment will not destroy their career. Sales is no longer about explaining features. Sales in 2026 is high-stakes change management and psychological assurance. While technical execution is being aggressively commoditized by $300 million worth of Anthropic tokens, the premium on human-to-human persuasion, empathetic negotiation, and high-level strategy is skyrocketing. Phase 6. The sovereign orchestrator, the career blueprint. We have diagnosed the token economy, the eradication of a support layer, the routing optimization, the Slack democratization, and sales rep paradox. If you are a professional operating in the global market today, you must execute an immediate, ruthless career pivot. You must transition into a sovereign orchestrator. Step 1. Liquidate the syntax. Stop defining your professional identity by the specific tools you use or the coding language you know. If your resume says expert in Java or master of data entry, you're advertising your own obsolescence. You must define yourself by the complex outcome you architect. You are a problem solver who uses whatever automated tools are necessary to achieve the result. Step 2. Master AI supervision. You must learn how to command the swarm. When Salesforce 15,000 engineers stopped writing code, they had to learn how to write deterministic, highly constrained systems architecture prompt. They had to learn how to evaluate AI's output for the security flaws and hallucination limits. You must become an expert in auditing the machine. Step 3. Exploit the human friction mode. The machine optimizes for logic. The global economy is driven by ego, fear, and relationship. You must intentionally insert yourself into the areas of your business that contains the highest biological friction. Become the operator who manages the complex client negotiation, who bridges the gap between the technical deployment and the terrified middle management layer. The AI cannot operate in the empathy void. You must dominate it. Step 4. Broadcast your architectural dominance. You cannot remain a silent worker in the background. You must broadcast your transition to a global market. You step into your acoustic-treated digital studio. You deploy your elite Cineline gear, your Sony FX2 camera. You import the data into DaVinci Resolve 20. You record a highly structured, unsentimental video essay deconstructing exactly how you transition your department from manual execution to an AI orchestrated pipeline. You explain how you use tools like Cursor and Anthropic to compress a 6-month deployment into 3 weeks, while personally navigating the stakeholder psychology to ensure a 100% adoption rate. You broadcast this artifact directly to the C-suite and the tech founders across the global grid. When a Tier 1 executive watches that broadcast, they do not see a legacy employee. They see an apex sovereign operator who understands that the future belongs to those who direct the machine rather than compete with it. Look closely at the task you executed today. Were you writing code, generating standard report, or answering routine support tickets? Tech giants are actively spending hundreds and millions of dollars to replace you. The era of the digital executor is over. The era of the sovereign orchestrator has begun. Stop competing on output. Start competing on architecture. Embrace the token economy, master the human friction, and force the global market to pay you an absolute premium for your un-automatable judgment.